Picture a stretch of ocean where compasses spin, radios crackle into silence, and ships vanish without leaving so much as an oil slick behind. For nearly a century, the Bermuda Triangle has captured our imagination like few places on Earth. But beneath the myths and the movies lies a quieter, more curious story. Today we're exploring what the Navy actually investigated, what they concluded, and why some of those files simply faded away. The Bermuda Triangle isn't marked on any official map. It's a loosely drawn region stretching between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, covering roughly 500,000 square miles of open Atlantic. Within these waters, dozens of ships and aircraft have reportedly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The legend grew slowly through the 20th century, fed by newspaper columns and paperback books. Yet the truth is more layered than the headlines ever suggested, and understanding it requires patience and genuine curiosity. The story that launched the legend began on December 5, 1945. 5 Navy Avenger torpedo bombers, known as Flight 19, took off from Fort Lauderdale on a routine training exercise. Somewhere over the Atlantic, the flight leader radioed that his compasses had failed, and the ocean looked strange. The planes never returned. Neither did a rescue aircraft sent to find them. 14 airmen vanished that afternoon, and the Navy launched one of its largest searches ever. For 5 days, hundreds of ships and aircraft combed thousands of square miles of ocean. They found nothing. No wreckage, no debris, no life rafts. The Navy's investigation ran hundreds of pages, examining weather, radio logs, and pilot experience. Their initial report suggested the flight leader had grown disoriented, mistaking his position over the Florida Keys for the Bahamas. But the families and the public wanted a cleaner answer, and that hunger shaped everything that followed. Here's a detail few people know. The Navy's original conclusion blamed pilot error and confusion, but when the family of the flight leader objected, arguing he was too skilled to be at fault, the official cause was quietly amended to read simply, "Cause unknown." That subtle change, from human error to mystery, opened the door. 2 words on a government form gave the legend room to breathe, and writers walked straight through it. In 1964, a writer named Vincent Gaddis coined the phrase Bermuda Triangle in a magazine article. A decade later, Charles Berlitz published a best-selling book that sold millions of copies worldwide. Suddenly, the triangle wasn't just a tragedy, it was a phenomenon. Sea monsters, time warps, alien abductions, and the lost city of Atlantis all entered the conversation. The Navy's careful reports were buried under an avalanche of far more thrilling explanations that captured the public imagination. Throughout all of this, the Navy maintained a remarkably consistent position. In official statements, they insisted the triangle was not a genuinely dangerous area with unusual disappearance rates. They pointed to heavy shipping traffic, unpredictable weather, and the sheer size of the region. But there's a difference between what an institution says publicly and what its investigators quietly pursue. And in the case of Flight 19, some questions genuinely resisted easy answers for decades. The United States Coast Guard, which handles most search and rescue in these waters, has been equally blunt. Their position is that the combined forces of nature and human error have accounted for far more losses than any imagined supernatural cause. They note that the Gulf Stream is swift and turbulent, capable of erasing evidence in hours. Storms form quickly, and the ocean floor drops to tremendous depths, swallowing wreckage where no diver could ever reach. One of the most important discoveries came from insurance data. Lloyd's of London, the famous maritime insurer, examined the records and found the Bermuda Triangle was no more dangerous than any other heavily traveled ocean region. They did not even charge higher premiums for ships passing through. When you account for how much traffic crosses these waters, the disappearance rate turns out to be entirely ordinary. Statistics, it seems, quietly deflated much of the mystery. So why did the Navy quietly stop investigating? The honest answer is less dramatic than conspiracy theories suggest. As each case was examined, mundane explanations kept emerging. Overloaded vessels, sudden squalls, mechanical failures, and simple navigation mistakes. There was no pattern requiring special attention, no anomaly demanding endless resources. Bureaucracies close files when there's nothing left to pursue. The silence wasn't a cover-up, but the natural quiet that follows honest, exhausted inquiry. Still, science offered fascinating possibilities worth exploring. One idea involves methane hydrates, vast deposits of frozen gas trapped beneath the ocean floor. If a large pocket suddenly released, it could reduce the water's density, causing a ship to lose buoyancy and sink instantly. Rising gas might also disrupt an aircraft's engines. Laboratory experiments have shown the buoyancy effect is real, though whether it has ever actually claimed a vessel remains genuinely uncertain and debated. Another compelling explanation is the rogue wave. For years, sailors described towering walls of water appearing from nowhere, and scientists dismissed them as tall tales. Then in 1995, an oil platform in the North Sea recorded a wave over 80 feet high. These monsters are now proven fact. In a region prone to converging storms and powerful currents, a single rogue wave could overwhelm even a large ship in seconds, leaving nothing behind. That eerie compass failure reported by Flight 19 has a genuine scientific footnote. The Bermuda Triangle is one of only a few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north can align closely. Navigators unaware of this could make small but compounding errors. Combined with the disorientation that comes from flying over featureless water with no horizon, a confident pilot could drift dangerously off course while believing he was heading exactly the right way. Perhaps the most overlooked explanation is simply us. Spatial disorientation is a documented killer of pilots, especially over open water at dusk when the sea and sky blur into one. Panic spreads quickly through a group, and radio recordings from Flight 19 reveal growing confusion and doubt. When trained people stop trusting their instruments and start trusting their fear, disaster often follows. The mind, under stress, can be the deadliest force of all. In recent decades, historians and researchers have revisited the old records with fresh eyes. What they found was illuminating. Many famous triangle disappearances happened nowhere near the triangle at all. Others occurred during documented severe storms that newspapers conveniently omitted. Some ships listed as vanished were later found to have sunk in entirely different oceans. The legend, it turns out, was assembled from carefully selected and sometimes misplaced facts, stitched together for dramatic effect. There's something deeply human about all of this. We are natural storytellers, and a good mystery satisfies us far more than a dry explanation. The Bermuda Triangle endures not because the evidence is strong, but because the story is irresistible. It reminds us how eagerly we fill gaps in knowledge with wonder. And honestly, there's beauty in that impulse, as long as we remember to keep asking harder, more careful questions. Yet it would be dishonest to claim every case is solved. Flight 19's aircraft have never been definitively located, despite modern searches. Some wreckage discovered offshore turned out to belong to other planes entirely. The ocean is vast, dark, and deep, and it keeps its secrets well. Genuine uncertainty remains, not because forces are conspiring against us, but because exploring the deep sea is one of humanity's greatest and most difficult challenges. The Bermuda Triangle teaches a valuable lesson about how we handle information. It shows how quickly a small change in wording, a selectively quoted statistic, or a compelling narrative can reshape reality in the public mind. Learning to ask where a claim comes from and who benefits from telling it is one of the most powerful skills anyone can develop. Curiosity and skepticism are not opposites. Together, they lead us toward truth. In the end, the real mystery may be more wondrous than any legend. We have mapped the surface of Mars in greater detail than our own ocean floor. Vast regions of the deep Atlantic remain completely unexplored. There are creatures and geological features down there we've never seen. The genuine unknown is thrilling enough without inventing sea monsters. The ocean doesn't need embellishment to inspire awe. It simply needs us to keep looking. So the next time you hear about the Bermuda Triangle, remember the fuller story. Remember Flight 19, those 2 amended words, and the patient investigators who followed the evidence wherever it led. The Navy didn't quietly stop investigating because they found something terrifying. They stopped because they found the truth, and the truth was human. Thank you for exploring this with me. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and never stop asking wonderful questions.